Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Okay, nako, magandang gabi ho sa inyong lahat. Happy Tuesday ho! Welcome ho sa ating programa. Ito po ang Legal Advice Corner on a Tuesday night. Sana'y nasa mabuti ho kayong kalagayan. So, welcome ho sa ating mga kababayan sa apat na sulok ho ng United Kingdom ho. No? Welcome ho kayo. At syempre sa ating mga kababayan din sa apat na sulok ho ng Europa. Welcome mo dito sa ating programa. Sana'y nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. At syempre, no, yung ating mga kaibigan, mga Pinoy na nasa labas ng United Kingdom, nasa labas ng Europa, welcome ho kayo dito sa ating programa. Tuloy kayo, kabayan. Okay, so another night evening of information about the law, no, dito ho sa United Kingdom. Ako po si SONNY LARAGAN. For those who tuned in just now, yung mga first-time viewers at ngayon lang nakadiscover ng program, this is a weekly program on a Tuesday night. Ayan. Teka, hindi ho ako ang star of the show, no? Pakikilala ko na yung star of the show natin. Siyempre, no, walang iba kundi ang managing partner ho ng Deo Volente Solicitors, no? Brains and Beauty. Mabait, maganda, matalino, lahat ho ng M. Pati mayaman. Papunta na ho ron. Nako, naubutuloy ako. Ayan, mga kaibigan, ang ating pinakamamahal na abogada that makes our Tuesdays happy, si Attorney DANNA QUINTO. Attorney, good evening sa iyo.
Good evening, Mr. Laragan. Magandang gabi sa lahat ng ating mga kababayan dito sa UK at sa lahat ng sulok ng mundo. Tuloy po kayo, parati nating sinasabi, Happy Tuesday! Welcome back sa Legal Advice Corner. Parating ako yung binibigyan mo ng nakakataba ng puso na adjectives. So, dapat ikaw din ang napakagwapo, napakabait, napaka-talented, you know, veterano at pillar ng community. You know, you never get to have an introduction, so I should really return the favor today. Welcome, Mr. Laragan, sa sarili mong show.
Nanibago ako. You know, tama ka rin. No? Kami nila kamukha with the likes of Mel Chanco, for example, Mike Enriquez, we, for example, because we're used to be the ones introducing and interviewing kami pinapakita, parang it's a different no, parang ibang klaseng situation, which is cute naman, di ba? Cute naman.
Diba?
Pero ikaw pinupuntahan dito, ikaw ang reason why people are, you know, it's I wouldn't really know. Plus totoo naman talaga, intelihente, mabait, matalino, maganda, di ba? So kompleto Ricardo's. Attorney, Kumusta na? How was your week? How was the isang linggo tayong hindi nagkita? At next week, iba ang lugar ko pagka nagkita tayo. Kaya medyo iba ang aking setup ngayon.
Sa Spanya? Will you be in Spain next week? Are you flying out? Oh, wow.
Yes, we're flying out. Birthday kasi ni Sol on,
Happy birthday.
when is it? On the 5th yata. On the 5th, the birthday niya next month. So we're gonna be...
Yata, naku. Kailangan mo.
Hindi, it's the 5th. O nga, baka magalit. Sabihin niya, baka hindi mo na
magalit.
naalala.
Magalitan tayo.
Oo.
It's been good.
So,
the week quite busy lang. Just very very busy with work. Back to usual programming ika nga nila. So matapos ka mamandok, balik na ako sa aking usual na routine. Kumbaga, there's a few hearings. I think we're getting into the nasa last quarter na tayo eh. So October, November actually October's okay. Just busy kasi mga heavy hearings and settlement negotiations. So a lot of people, there's this notion na it's the end of the year. We want to get our lives settled before the end of the year. So kami din ginagamit namin yan. We would like to have a settlement negotiation before December or something like that. So you tend to get activity kumbaga around this time. But yun, back to usual programming. Walang bundok na naakyat, puro akyat sa opisina ang nangyari. But I'm trying to get back into a healthier lifestyle dahil naramdaman ko nung umakyat ako ng bundok na medyo kulang tayo ng exercise. So yun lang siguro yung something that's changed a little bit apart from the heavier workload. Nag-gym
Okay.
tayo ng konti. Nag-ano tayo.
Tinatanong kita noon eh, di ba? Oh, attorney, tinatanong nga kita, di ba? Like for example, kami, di ba? Let's say, hopefully, kung summertime next year, aakyat tayo, no? Kailangan talaga bang, siyempre, we have to be fit or mag-practice na muna, di ba? You cannot just go,
Yeah.
sasaba ka lang kagad na aakyat, di ba? Dahil baka mamaya, maasar lang kayo na, bira naman, naiiwan sila sa baba. Hindi hinintay natin, sana nakabalik na tayo.
Hindi naman kami maasar.
Diba?
It's more for safety at enjoyment, most importantly. Para ayun, mas alam mo na kung ano yung i-expect mo in terms of muscle fatigue, tapos mas madali kang mag-recover kung medyo sanay ka sa akyatan. So I would highly recommend na may training kayo bago umakyat. Especially Ben Nevis is a solid solid mountain, 5 to 6 hours as well.
Wow!
Up and down.
Packet lang? Up and down.
Trip.
So 3 hours going up.
Up and down.
Round trip. Mabuti naman, akala.
Round trip.
Diyos ko,
It's not
kinabahan
too
naman ako.
bad.
Akala ko,
It's not too bad.
Oo,
It's not too
kinabahan
bad.
ako.
Pero syempre, matagal din yun kung hindi ka sanay maglakad ng 5 oras. It's not going to be very pleasant. But yeah, it's good. It's lahat tayo back to usual. Medyo mataas ang kaso ng COVID ngayon sa UK. It's on the news, 43,000, 45,000. May mga kuro-kuro na naman. Magla-lockdown ba? What do you think, Mr. Laga? Magla-lockdown ba tayo sa December?
Nako.
Do you think
wag naman. What we could probably, wag sana, no? What we could probably do is go back to yung mga wearing of masks. Kasi anong nangyari, I don't know if you noticed this, nung lumog lahat kumakain sa mga restaurants, wala nang mask, wala nang pupunta na sa grocery, sa supermarkets, wala na silang mask, di ba? Parang nawala na parang naging kampante na I think, wag mag-lockdown, ibalik lang yon. Yung we responsible sa sarili natin na, di ba, we have to wear the mask talaga dahil yun nga, lumalakas ang infection. Maaaring hindi lumalakas ang mortality or yung grabing cases, pero ano rin yan nakakabagabag din yung ganyan na tumataas ang cases, di ba? Kasi maaaring tamaan ka maski paano, although, di ba, what the vaccination prevents is yung death at saka yung severe na pagkakasakit, di ba? Pero malay mo, matsyempohan, di ba? Kaya ingat pa rin tayo, no? I know of some friends, naku, hindi ko nababanggitin, baka nanonood yung kaibigan natin matalik, no? Tinamaan ng COVID yun. Babanggitin ko ba? Hindi ko nababanggitin, baka nanonood Ano lang naman yun, yun ang ginawa. Basta nag-e-edit lang yun. Nag-e-edit ng mga ano.
Hindi pero dinescribe naman
Hindi, malaki responsibility nun. Hindi lalabas yung newspaper pag hindi niya inedit Yan. Tinamaan yun, tinamaan. So, pero feeling ng ating friend na yon, medyo may immunity na siya. Pero siyempre, later on siguro, di ba? Meron din mga tinamaan ng COVID na tatamaan yata ulit, di ba? Hindi naman porke tinamaan ka na pwede pang di ba? Parang tamaan pa. Oo. Well, okay. Busy sa opisina.
Nurses. Sorry. I was just gonna say,
confirm yun ng mga sabi nurses. Sabi ng mga nurses?
Confirmed ng mga nurses ko po na kaibigan na pwede ka pa rin tamaan ulit kapag kahit na bakunahan or kahit nagka-COVID ka naman noon, pwede ka pa rin magka-COVID ulit. I think that's confirmed by medical studies as well.
May friend tayo. I forgot his name now. Cesar, one of our avid viewers, no? Cesar Velasco. Malaking lalaki. He's a martial artist. Talagang, tinamaan ng COVID. Binutasan nila yung lalamunan niya. Talagang parang makahinga na, no? Oo, grabe ang kanyang COVID. Thank God, gumaling, pero it was parang talagang, kumbaga, nasa bingit na, isang paa niya nasa malapit na sa hukay. Si Cesar Velasco yata, surname, basta Cesar, no? Taga Sussex. And thank God, no? Thank God. Oo. Yung ating nag-edit ng ating...
Ingat po lahat. Ingat po tayo.
Ingat po. Ingat nga. Marami tayong mga kaibigan. Yung ating sa Pinoy Radio UK, yung ating editor ng ating mga radio adverts, lahat ng plugs natin, he passed away because of COVID, no? So
sorry.
Totoo ang COVID. Hindi biro, no? Hindi biro yan. Yung ating kaibigan, si Nava True, di ba? Tinamaan din, di ba? Remember?
Opo, yeah. Ang isa sa mga...
Yung ating,
yes,
yung mga...
may
si George. Isa nating mga kaibigan,
din na...
May rest in peace, no? Mga kaibigan natin. Yes. So, ayan. Yun ang ating mga Okay. Anong na ba? Attorney, siguro pag tayo, kung sino unang babati sa atin, no? Blind din ako I don't know who the first one is. Alamin natin para
Hindi na ako nanalo sa game na to. Never na ako nanalo sa
Sige nga, katuwan lang. We're playing a little game.
Si Marian Galicia Paner. Sige nga, Marian Galicia Paner.
Marian Galicia Paner. Sige, si Marian Galicia Paner. Huhula ako, ha? Hindi pa, hula mo na ako direct. Kasama rin ako. Okay. Si sige. Oliver Fernandez ako para lalaki. Oliver Fernandez. Sige, direct. Go.
Yeah.
Sino yan? Hindi ko makita.
Marian Galicia Paner.
Marian Galicia Paner. Okay. Nako. Wala akong makita pala din sa monitor ko. Direct. Diba? Okay lang. Ayun. Okay, wala na. Okay na. Marian Galicia Paner. Okay. Mabuhay. Okay, mabuhay.
Nanalo din ako. Mabuhay. Kamusta ka, Marian? Welcome back. Tuloy ka. Una na naman, valedictorian.
Nakakatawa, attorney, dahil yan ang mga, di ba, sila yung mga naglalaban Yun ang mga contenders mga malalaking contenders. Malalakas na contender si Oliver Fernandez. Siya. Minsan sino pa pumapasok? Si Susan. Si Edgar Duay. Lately, pumapasok na si Edgar. Lumalaban din, At,
lumalaban din.
Susan, parang batong bakal, no? Sige. Sulaan natin yung... sige, Oliver Fernandez ako. So, for the second.
Ako din.
Sino? Oliver Fernandez. Sige. Go. Direct, subukan natin. Yan, from America, no?
Ay, bago!
Sino yan?
May bago! Good evening, everyone! Sor Perez. Sino ba to? Sino ba si Sor Perez?
Sor
Good evening,
Perez, bago yan.
Bago.
Good evening. Mabuhay ka. Galing, ha? Sor Perez. Hindi ko nakikita kasi maliliit lang kasi yung aking monitor ko, no? Okay, Joy Perez. Sor Perez. Sor Perez. Taga saan ka? Sor Perez. Taga saan ka, Sor? Taga saan ka rito sa UK ba? Taga Greece.
Taga Greece.
Taga Greece pala. Oh,
Wow!
Sor, mabuhay ha.
Alam mo,
Thank you for
Greece.
watching.
Gusto ko
Uy,
ano dyan.
magano? Attorney, mamasyal,
Mag-marathon.
pumunta,
Mag-marathon.
mag-travel.
Mag-marathon, yes.
Marathon. Meron ba sila? May marathon ba sila?
Yeah, doon ang una atang marathon eh. I swear, the first ever
Well,
marathon. That's
oh,
right.
yeah, first ever. Oo, tama.
Mhm.
Oo, first ever sa ano. Oo nga. Pero may marathon ba sila? Modern Times, nagaan ba sila? Do they
Meron.
host mga marathons?
Meron. Yeah. Meron po. I have been
Meron.
yeah. Yeah, meron. Yes.
Oh. Well, Olympics, di ba? Kasi noong araw, di ba, nagkakaroon ng competition diyan sa mga gods and di ba? Goddesses.
Yes, that's
So
right.
nag-aano sila sa Olympics. O nga, no? Kung iisipin mo, no? It's of Greek origin pala, no? Di ba?
Correct.
Kasasabi mo kasi, na-realize natin na, o nga, marathon nga pala, nagsimula sa kanila, no? So, mabuhay, from Greece, di ba, attorney? Okay, sige, sino ang susunod natin na third natin na, na babati sa atin?
Tingnan natin, nasan si Oliver ngayon. Ayun na si Oliver. Ayan.
Si Oliver ba yan?
Yeah. I'm gonna, good morning and happy Tuesday to one and all. From the Pacific Northwest of the US of A, just would like you guys to know that your program gives people like me a sense of normalcy in their lives in this unnormal times. Thank you, Oliver. Nakakatawa naman. Tuloy ka dito, Oliver. Tuloy ka dito.
Attorney, ikaw magbabasa, hindi ko makita. Actually, ang lilit sa akin. Ganun kalit lang. Maliit lang yung camera ko. So, pero kumusta naman ang video ko? How's my video, attorney? Kumusta naman ang video ko?
Okay naman po.
Malinaw ba?
May siguro malinaw naman. May konting lag siguro. Very,
may lag.
very.
May lag ako.
A little bit.
Okay.
Nag-umpisa tayo. Okay na ngayon. It's a bit better.
Ngayon, nag-normalize na. Okay. Good.
Yeah, hindi nag-umpisa tayo, parang may ano lang. Ayan si Marian, yung talagang, inuna niyo muna yung hello po para siya yung una. Pero yung proper greeting niya, dito na. Hello po, magandang gabi po, Kuya Sonny. And Attorney Dana, at sa lahat, happy Tuesday po and stay safe and God bless us. God bless you too, Marian. Galicia Paner. Valedictorian ka na naman. Next.
Gusto ko nga pala, teka muna, I just would like to say, sandali lang, attorney. Gusto ko lang i-remind sa kanila na you can watch us also on YouTube, no? We're pushing for YouTube para at least dyan na kayo talaga almost manonood, no? Pwede rin, siyempre, andyan pa rin ang Facebook. Pero we're both on YouTube. We're both on YouTube and Facebook, no? Kaya pwede ko kayong bumati. Minsan binabati ho natin yung mga messages mula sa YouTube, no? At mas maganda ho ang quality ng video doon. I-check lang natin direct kung na-adjust ba niya yung ating mga settings ng ating mga encoders, no? So, okay. All right, go. Ayan. Okay,
Ed Abdullah from
Kuwait. Okay naman. Kayang-kaya ba? Kayang-kaya ba? Direct, kayang-kaya ba? Okay.
Sorry, what was
Ed
that?
Abdullah from, kailan siya? Yeah, we're okay.
Ed
Attorney, go.
Ed Abdullah from Kuwait. Happy Tuesday, host. Magandang gabi sa lahat. And watching from Kuwait. Ed Abdullah, magandang gabi. Magandang, and Emmeline Rofel. Nasa Middle East na naman tayo. Good evening, Sonny. And Attorney Dana and everyone. All caps. Okay, watching from Abu Dhabi.
Wala akong makita. Attorney, I'm leaving it up to you, ha? Hindi ko makita. Ang liit kasi parang langgam. Ganyan lang nakikita kong letra, no? Oo. Sige, attorney. Sige, sino pa?
Ayan, Emmeline
Abu Dhabi
Rofel.
pa rin. Nasa Abu Dhabi pa rin.
Yes.
Galing na Dubai yan. Sumama sa Dubai, World Expo. Andun nga yung kumarin natin si Marquez Allen, fly in from Prague, biglang lipad na naman papuntang Dubai. Pagbalik na naman, lipad na naman papuntang Italy. Just ko, talaga naman jet setting yung ating kumaring si Marquez Allen. Kumusta na kaya siya, no? Okay, so nabanggit ako lang naalala si kumaring si Marites because of nasa Dubai nga siya, no? Si pangalan daw yung
Emmeline Rofel.
Emmeline Rofel. Okay. O sige, direct.
Edgar Duang. Andito si Edgar Duang. Magandang gabi, Attorney DQ and legendary Sonny LARAGAN. At sa mga taga-subaybay, Happy Tuesday, Q. Happy ang Tuesday. Pag andyan si Attorney Dewata ko. Lol. Galing din ni Edgar mag-ano eh.
Magaling,
Magandang
masyadong
gabi.
creative
Nakita
yung
ko
mind
yung
niya.
ano. Yeah.
Oo.
Nakita ko yung
Ayan, YouTube
anak ni
yata yan.
Edgar.
YouTube ba yan? Oo,
Yes.
what about? What
Nakita
about
ko
yung
lang
anak
yung
ni
anak
Edgar?
ni Edgar
Sino?
looking at sorry, hello? May lag po ba?
No, you were saying...
I think may lag ata
No, okay lang.
may lag ata
Nakita
yung
mo yung
audio
anak...
natin eh.
Okay naman
Meron
hindi ko
nga,
alam ba.
oo. Meron. May lag
May
yung
lag.
audio. May lag yung audio natin. That's the reason why hindi nagtutugma yung audio natin. Is that a bit better?
Okay. All right. I don't know. Well, kay Direk, tanong natin kay Direk. Direk, okay na ba kami? May delay ba saan? May, okay, let's just tignan natin kay Direk, no? May teleprompter tayo sa gilid.
May teleprompter tayo.
May teleprompter, oo. Okay.
Sorry, as I was
may delay
saying,
kaya?
is that okay? All good? Can you hear me okay, Mr. Laragan?
I can hear you loud and clear,
okay?
but you're telling me na may lag, no? May lag. Sige. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay na ba tayo, Direk? Okay na raw. Okay na ba? Sige. Okay, go ahead with the reading of the messages, Attorney. Sige, go ahead.
Yes, I was just saying, i-mention ko lang yung anak ni Edgar na tumitingin ng mga university and potentially going into law. So, good luck, Alex. Sana nga mag-law school ka. Oo, good luck. Dito ka mag-guest co-host, Alex. Pagtapos ng
inspired siya. Na-inspire siya, Attorney, because of you, di ba? Nakikita, batang-bata yung abogado, no? At saka puro abogado nakikita niya rito. May Attorney Lira Simon Kabatbat on a Thursday, merong Attorney DANNA Quinto on a Tuesday, no? O kaya sabi niya, teka muna, kailangan na rin ako, kumuha ako ng law. So good, no? Pero siya, no? That will be how long for her to take up, Attorney?
3 plus 2 depende sa 3 plus 2, yeah, probably 2, probably 5 years, until full qualification. At iba na yung nila, may SQE na sila eh. So, I think even with SQE, 5 years pa rin. So, undergrad, 5 or 6 years. Hindi ko na alam kung ano yung bagong nila ngayon. But normally 5 to 6 years.
Okay. Ayan. 5 to 6 years. No, Alex, kasi simula na ba o parang pinag-aaralan niyo yung mga eskwelahan pwede niyang pasukin? Ganun ba ang Attorney?
Pinag-aaralan pa lang po. Pinag-aaralan.
Namimili siya. Okay. All right. Sana makapasok at later magkakaroon tayong Little Danna Quinto, di ba?
Diba? Makakapasok yan. We're confident. Sige. We're cheering
Alex,
for you, Alex.
Sige.
We're cheering for you.
We're cheering.
Yes.
We're behind you, Alex. Sige. Kabuhay kay Daddy. Na.
Ayan.
Sige. Next, pagbasi? Ano pa natin yan?
Si Neng nagsasabi, magandang gabi po, Kuya Sonny and Attorney DANNA at sa lahat. Happy Tuesday po. This is Neng. YouTube.
Is that on YouTube? Okay, thanks, Neng, sa YouTube. Watch us on YouTube. We're gonna be parang pushing for YouTube. And of course, siyempre, andyan naman ang Facebook na, no? Hindi naman mawawala yan. Pero we'd like to encourage people, we'd like to have a far crisper video. Nandun kami sa YouTube. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sige, Attorney. Next natin.
Speaking of, Marites Allen is saying hello from Venice, Italy. Marites Allen, hello. Paano ba? Ciao. Hello.
Ciao. Uy, Venice ka ngayon, ha? Social, ha? No, I don't know. Siguro, Buongiorno yata, no?
Buongiorno, ciao.
Basta iba spelling nila dyan, eh. Ang pamilya nila may G.
Yes.
Di ba? May G sila eh. Imbes na pamilya, isa kanila pamilya. Parang ganyan, no?
That's right.
Pamilya, spelling nila, pamilya. Parang, ano pa ba yung mga, basta mga words na may GG na mahilig sila sa ganyan. Sobra sila sa, parang sa France, pag yung mga sa France naman, hindi pinupronounce yung mga S yata, di ba? Yung mga, parang sobra sila sa spelling. Kunyari, Paris, di ba? Imbes na sabihin Paris. Paris.
Yes.
Di ba?
Paris, yes.
May isa pang lugar doon, attorney, yung kung saan si King Louis, ano yung castle niya? Saan lugar yun?
Versailles.
Malapit sa Paris.
Versailles.
Versailles. Oh, they pronounce it
Versailles.
Versailles. Hindi naman sinasabing
Yeah,
Versailles, di ba? Oh,
Yeah,
so
Versailles.
sila naman yung letter S, wini-waste nila sa France.
Yeah.
Dito naman sa Italy, wini-waste naman na yung G, hindi ginagamit, no? Familia.
Ayaw gamitin
Diba?
yung alphabet, ano? Oo nga.
Oo. Ay, teka muna.
Hello,
Nasa
sa
ano
lahat
daw siya?
ng
Nasa Venice. Nasa Venice ba siya? So, nakapunta ka na ba ng Venice, attorney?
Hindi pa po. Yeah, that's next on my bucket list. Yes. Next
Punta ka
on
na
my
yan. Puro
bucket
kanal dyan eh.
Ay,
Puro
kanal.
kanal yan. Diba? Puro canals. Hindi. It's a city
Yeah.
built on canal. Puro kanal. Puro tubig, mga
Nice.
gondola. Di ba? May mga... Puro kanal yan. Malalaki nga lang kanal. Hindi kanal sa Pilipinas na marurumi o no. Pero kanal na malilinis yan na malalaki. It's,
Yeah.
At saka dyan yung binibili nila na ano, hindi ko alam kung napunta na kumaring Marites, yung glass, yung
Blowing the glass. When you blow the glass.
blowing the
Hand
glass,
blown,
o kaya yung glass, mga
yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
May isang maliit na island dyan eh, pupunta kayo eh, tapos panonoorin nyo paggawa ng glass blowing, ganyan, pag-create.
Yeah. I've done that.
Murano.
Yeah, Murano glass. Yeah, I've done that dito
Murano
sa
glass.
UK, sa Bath, nagawa ko na yan eh, to blow the glass. Saan sa
loob mismo?
sa
Sa loob
Bath.
ng Roman, bath?
Sa
Roman bath?
no,
Sa
may
loob?
isang factory ng glass. Isa na lang sila sa natitira doon. I don't know what that
Okay.
So they let me try to do that. Nakakatuwa, ha? It's sobrang delicate.
Part of a tour? Part of a tour or part of something? Or you
No,
just
I was traveling. I was just traveling on my own a very long time ago.
Okay. Maganda sa Bath. I love Bath, no? I'm in love with Bath, no? Maganda ang Bath. I love it. Medyo hilly part, di ba? Minsan yung kasi may hilly part na nakikita mo yung mga bahay sa hills. No? Maganda ang Bath, no? Naikot mo na lahat attorney, no? Na halos sa UK ba? Naikot mo na?
Yeah, no, I've been pretty much yung mga corners ng UK, Cornwall, Bath, yung mga even Wales, I think. Yeah, I've been to Snowdonia. Yes, may interest ako when I was younger to just go around and learn about yung mga nuances, yung mga kakaiba with each town. Pero mostly nasa bundok ako eh. So siguro nadaan.
So hindi yung mga Cardiff, hindi ganyan. Hindi. So mostly kunyari pagka Wales, hindi yung Cardiff yung city center kundi doon ka sa Snowdonia, balik, no?
Yeah.
Wow,
right,
grabe yung adventure mo. Parang hindi hindi bale basta okay, next year July or sometime hopefully normal na yung although itong pandemic andito na sa atin, no? We're going to be living with the pandemic for the next how many years daw ang parang ang forecast or ang tinataya nila siguro mga next 2, 3, 4, 5 how many years daw?
I don't know. I haven't read the updated news. May bago na ba silang
wala.
forecast? Wala, I haven't read the updated.
Iniisip ko lang kasi ko next year when we go up, no? Should we summertime yan? Should we kami ikaw okay lang pero should we si Solo whoever or saka si Emmeline Rafael, do we need to have some training if we will go up the Ben Nevis mountain?
Yeah, definitely.
Kailangan, di ba? Kailangan.
Kailangan medyo sanay yung katawan with 5 to 6 hours of walk, 5 to 6 hours of being in the elements. So yun yung you want to enjoy it at the end of the day.
Summertime elements? Summertime elements? Baka umulan kasi, no?
No, malamig pa rin po sa summit.
Malamig pa rin.
The first time I climbed Ben Nevis is July. May snow sa taas. July, that was summer. July yun, may snow pa rin
really,
sa taas.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's still, and
Hindi kaya...
we had...
okay.
we had wind, we had rain. So that was July. So kailangan prepared ka for all sorts of weather as well.
Hindi kaya okay, kunyari, dapat ba lahat suot mo lang o meron ka pang layer na inuwanan? Sabi mo kasi malamig sa taas eh. Kung kunyari ako kasama ko si Edgar Duway, ikaw, sila Emon and Rafael, tayo, no? Pagka sinuot kong pinakapal na, hindi ba ako pagtatawanan? Ba, hindi ka pa nakakaakyat sa LARAGAN, bet balot na balot ka na. Para ka nang, hindi ba, kailangan bang, meron mang lighter ba? Or may dala-dala ka pang patong pa? O yun na kailangan pag-akyat mo, yun na yung dala mong damit?
No, that's the reason why you do layering. Yun yung system when you hike. So you layer. So you start with, some layers. The rule is as long as comfortable ka. So you don't want to be overly perspiring kasi madi-dehydrate ka. Ilan lang naman siguro yung yung dala mong tubig. You don't want to be freezing cold as well. So wear layers as you feel comfortable with. So if you want to start with a couple of layers in the first 2 hours, in the first hour of the hike, and then when it gets colder, just add another layer and another layer, and then take it off kung hindi na kung nainitan ka na. And that's the reason why you don't just wear one big jacket. You layer it with a base layer, you have a middle layer, and then you have your final waterproof. So there's no rule. Own your hike your hike, live your life, be comfortable, enjoy your hiking. Kung kawalan ka man o hindi, at the end of the day, just do what you want to do and make
Just
sure
do it,
that you're
tama yan.
comfortable. That's right. If you want to wear whatever it is, as long as you're comfortable and as long as you are safe, I think that is it at the end of the day. And as long as you enjoy the
Yung mga
hike.
additional, okay. Pero additional layers, attorney, nandun sa parang backpack yun. Siyempre, no?
Yeah,
for example,
exactly.
ikaw, pag umakyat ka, siyempre, you start with a few layers. How many layers pa ang nasa bag mo?
2 layers
Ano ba
mostly.
yung,
2 layers.
may 2 layers pang naiiwan sa bag mo, plus yung, yung hindi ka hindi ka mababasa?
Waterproof.
Yung
Kung hindi
susuot mo?
naman po umuulan.
Waterproof.
At kung
Okay.
hindi naman po umuulan, hindi naman po ako magwa-waterproof. So, lalagay ko siya sa bag ko. Kung hindi umuulan,
Sa bag pa rin yun.
I'll stow it away. That's the reason why it's quite important to look at the weather. You look at kung ang weather ay very, very sure na hindi uulan, lagay mo lang sa bag mo. Don't leave it at home. Just put it on your bag, but you can rest assured na you'll stay dry. Para bang extra mo lang yun. Kung uulan, what I learned from experience, isuot mo na. Dahil pag hihintayin mo pa yung ulan, mababasa ka lang. Tapos, you feel cold. You feel a bit cold. So that is yun yung parang very basic na with mountain attires. You develop your system kung ilang layers man yan, and then you look at the weather. It's pretty much how you dress up for day to day dito sa UK. Katulad mo, Mr. Laragan, how many layers have you got today? You've got 1 layer, but pag winter, di ba, naka-jumper ka din, and you've got your polo shirt. So it's the same thing with mountains. When you go out, you look at the weather and say, well, am I going to bring a brolly today, or I'm going to bring a waterproof today? It's the same thing. So much, it's just that you expect yourself to be out there longer. Imbis na 5 minutes to the bus station or to the train, you're there for 6 hours. So it's just making sure you're safe. I think yun ang pinaka-importante, first and foremost.
Picking up on what you said, no? Yung hindi yung makapal na susuot mo ang pinaka-advisable, do it by layering rather than di ba feeling na iba na para malabanan nila yung ginawa, isang makapal kagad. Hindi, mas mabuti may konti kang layer pa, dagdag. Mas lalo kang iinit, mas lalo kang magiging komportable. Okay.
And ang isa pa po last time is that what people sometimes, and I didn't realize nung nag-uumpisa ako, once you start walking, you're actually gonna add another 10 degrees siguro sa body heat mo when you're doing an activity. So normally, siguro kung andito tayo, nakaupo, it feels like, say 17 degrees. But kung tumatakbo ko sa treadmill dito, it's gonna feel like 25 degrees. It's the same in the mountains. So you might feel, ay, ang lamig, but actually you'll probably feel warm because you're moving. So that's the reason why sometimes it's good to just see how you feel. Tingnan nyo kung mainit ba, nag-overheat na ba kayo, so remove another layer. But when you stop, sabi mo, ay, gusto ko mag-picture o gusto ko mag-snack muna, then you're gonna feel it very quickly. Doon lang sa Banok, yun ang parang nashock yung
Ano
mga
feeling?
tao.
Feel
Ay,
yung lamig? Mafe-feel mo yung lamig?
yeah,
Mafe-feel
you're
mo
gonna
kagad
feel
yung
the
lamig?
cold.
Ganun? That's what you meant?
Yeah, you're gonna feel the
Really?
cold.
So you
very
really have to keep moving pala, no? Pag nag-stop ka, ano ibig sabihin? Should you, kakain muna ako, nagutom ako, kukunin ko sandwich ko.
And that's
So
when
before
you
I
put
do
your
that,
other layer.
I'll wrap up a bit. Ganun ba?
Sometimes, if
Okay.
you're gonna be
Alright.
staying 15 to 20 minutes, definitely put something on. Kasi dun sa taas, mararamdaman mo talaga yan. Very, very quickly, within 5 minutes, you'll feel it straight away. Kasi hindi ka na nag-move. And then yung wind chill factor, yung minsan
Attorney,
malamig
parang
talaga.
parang natakot na yata ako sa warning ano mo. Parang sabi ko,
No, hindi naman siya
kakayanin ko ba?
nakakatakot.
After
You just
5 minutes, biglang mararamdaman ko yung chills. Kagad na
I
lalamig.
think it's normal because
Oo.
you're up there. Say for example, it's 10 degrees, and kung akyat ka na akyat, mainit yung katawan mo, and then bigla you stop walking. You're gonna feel straight away. It's not just the elements; it's your body na nagsistop lang mag-produce ng heat kasi hindi ka na naglalakad, hindi ka na umaakyat. So it's not hindi naman minus. It's very rarely, unless you do winter walking, and that's the reason why we're doing summer walking para hindi ganun ka-extreme yung weather. But just be, don't be surprised na pag tigil mo biglang parang binuksan yung aircon. So, baka dala ka ng jacket mo. So that's what we say, we're gonna stop for lunch. Do you want to put aalagaan ka naman namin. Alagaan naman namin kayo ni Sole. So we're stopping for lunch. You wanna get your jacket out para komportable ka, hindi ka lalamigin. And then once you start walking, maiinitan ka, ikaw mismo siguro magtatanggal ng jacket mo. Init na init ka na naman siguro.
Ayun, oh. At least may mga ano ka na, mga EWD, no? Early warning device. More kasi from your experiences somehow na-anticipate na rather than first time mong, di ba? At least na-warn na. So you can prepare. Sabi nga, forewarned is forearmed. Oh, attorney, mga pasada na ng mga last greetings before we go into our break, and we discuss yung ano yung topic natin na i-discuss nga? Paki-flash nga natin direct yung sige, ano yan?
Yes.
Ayan. Pros and cons of, prenup, ha? Nako, may kaibigan kami. Yan ang problema. Nako, Diyos ko, na in love. Nako, Diyos ko, na in love. Ayan. Ngayon, nag-ano siya ngayon. Parang nagsisisi. Ganyan, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. O, sige. Kasama the greetings, pasadaan lang natin a few more. Sige, tapos yun ang magandang, malaking bagay ito, ha? Panoorin nyo. Napaka-importante nito. May kilala ko kami na, nako, Diyos ko, nasisira yata ang ayoko na magsalita, no? Baka maano. Siyempre, pagka na-feel mo, nagamit ka or something, di ba? Parang gusto mo nang iwanan, di ba? Stressful yan. Okay, sige, ano binabasa? Sige.
Maria Ferry is saying hello from Oviedo, Florida.
Uy, Maria.
Ganda naman. Maria Ferry. Hello, Maria Ferry from Oviedo, Florida. Ed Duay, Ed from YouTube, si Ed nagko-comment ngayon, FDDC would like to thank mga community from Philcom, Dorset, BMD dancers of Leicester and Filipino Nottingham and Derbyshire community for gracing our cultural festival show last Sunday. A huge success. Yes, nakita ko naka-Filipiniana sila. Ang cute, ang galing. And
parang may nakita akong pusa tuloy picture ni Irene Duway, no? Ni Irene yata, may naka-busy yata. May nakita lang ako mabilis na lang. Hindi ko nakita masyado.
Shoutout natin yung sponsor nila, World Remit at Mega World. Maraming salamat po for sponsoring yung mga paborito nating si Ed Duway at kanyang community doon sa Derbyshire. So well done, Ed, well done.
Mabuhay, well done. Direct, baka pwedeng nating maisama yung ano, merong binigay sa akin si Ed. Ed, paki-flash, padala mo kay, ano, kay Pau yan, no? Para mailagay natin, maihabol natin sa community news, no? Ayan. Oh, ito, merong ano ba ito? Ito, may ano bang, ito, merong nakikita ako, ano ba? Ganda ng picture ni Irene, no? Nakakulay green. Oh, mailalabas mo ba yan? Hindi, wag na. Kung mailalabas mo ba ito sa ating, ano? Hindi at na mailalabas na, no? Ayan, ano ba yan? Okay. Mamaya na siguro direct, no? Ano oras na ba? Para makadiscuss tayo ng topic natin.
Basahin ko muna itong greeting ni Edgardo. Good evening daw from our
Kagastian.
Good evening, Mr. Laragan, yes. Attorney Donna Quinto. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Stay safe as well. Flu season again. Magandang gabi, Edgardo. Ano ka ba ngayon? Working from home or are you reporting from the Northern Line? Kasi minsan nagbibigay
kumusta ang mother? Kumusta natin yan? Alam mo, dahil na sila ng prize, dahil nagkaroon ako ng pa-contest yata, when was this? Mother's Day contest yata. Nanalo si Edgar, no? At yata, hindi ko matandaan kung yung mother niya o during the Mother's Day or some... Ito si Edgar Cagastian, nanalo ng prize yan sa atin. Hindi ko alam kung 2,500 to 3,000 or some pesos. Hindi ko na matandaan. So, congratulations. Yeah. Sana nasa mabuting kalagayan si mami mo, no? Ayan.
Ayun.
Okay. May greetings pa ba?
SP Cinerillo is saying hello again from Athens, Greece. But ang dami natin from Athens, Greece. Sana makapunta po ako sa Athens.
Tama. Uy, yung kumare natin si Marites Allen, di ba? Nagpunta ng Prague. Talagang maganda ang kanilang parang bonding with Ambassador Ombra Jainal, no? And Conjen Indira Banyares, no? Mabuhay. Oo. Yeah. Sige, makapunta tayo, hopefully, no? Cyprus daw, maraming Pinoy doon. At saka Greece. And between Greece and Cyprus, mas marami sa Cyprus, no? Mabuhay kayo. Mabuhay. Yeah.
Maria Ferry is saying Maria Ferry is saying Dubai is hosting an international expo that commenced last October 1 and will run through December. The place is too crowded and this may trigger a domino effect. Ingat-ingat lang po tayo sa mga mga expo.
Oo nga.
Ayan. Rufino Ubana.
Sayang, makakahabol pa ba kami?
Rufino Ubana is saying, hello po, good evening, watching from Germany. Pinoy Truckers Europe, yung mga ano ni Ludi Samson. Yes,
ingat. Ludi, yes, mabuhay kayo dyan. Mag-ingat kayo. Thank you very much for watching us. Mabuhay kayo. No, nakakatuwa na. Gusto ko isipin, iniisip ko, nasa kaya sila ngayon? No? Nasa mga side street sila, nakaparada sila ngayon. No? Biyahe yung mga yan. Mabuhay, may mga Filipino truckers pala, no? Mabuhay. Okay, sino to?
Ed Duay, watching you lovely people while eating chocolate. Paborito ko yung chocolate.
Uy, paborito na yan ng Romulo Cafe. Paborito yan. Nahanap na Romulo Cafe yan. Kasi every time na may kakain sa Romulo Cafe, yan ang parang, parang panghimagas yata. Yung chocolate. Pag nagpunta ka sa Romulo Cafe. May bago ngayon, Casa and Kin ba yun? Yung bago nila ngayon sa Soho, malapit yata. Hindi ko alam kung nasa exactly. Kasi I was supposed to be there. Nag-invite si Rowena nung Sabado, pero I wasn't able to make it because I was with family, no? So, hindi ko na,
right.
Yeah, so, basta punta tayo ng attorney, magkita tayo ron sa Casa and Kin. Doon sa
Yes.
Ano yun natin, puntahan natin, maikot natin. So, okay, we're gonna have a short break. Okay na ba tayo? Direct, pwede na ba tayo?
Sabihin ko si Ma'am Cora kasi favorite natin ito Si Ma'am Cora lang po.
Si Ma'am Cora ba yan? Siyempre.
Si Ma'am Cora. Hello daw, Sir Sonny, Attorney Donna, at sa lahat, masayang gabi, Ma'am Cora Corsola.
Okay. Paano? Napakamarami daw greetings pa, direct, attorney. Sabi, mamaya na siguro pag-discuss tayo, tuloy naman natin pagkatapos. Siguro, after the discussion, ituloy natin. Sige. Okay. Alright. Sige mga kaibigan, we're gonna have a short break. Magbe-break ko kami ni attorney. And, ano yan, pros and cons ng, ng prenuptial, agreement sa isang kasal. Pakinggan ho ninyo, napakahalaga ho nito. Baka na mamaya may mangyari ho sa inyo, no? I mean, dahil na-stress kayo, dahil hindi kayo nag-decide na magpa-prenup. Okay, we're gonna have a short break. Kami ho ni Attorney Dana Quinto ay magbabalik dito po sa Legal Advice Corner. Saglit po lamang.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, serbisyong mapagkakatiwalaan, serbisyong maaasahan pagdating sa inyong mga padalang balikbayan boxes. Dito ka na sa Forex Cargo. Sa presyong kayang-kaya ng bulsa, sigurado ka pa sa inyong padala. Forex Cargo. Dahil kailangan makarating. Call 0208 813-7064. O, ano pang inaantay niyo mga kabayan? Tayo na sa Forex Cargo!
%100% all natural. Tasty. Healthy. Versatile. 4 unique flavors. Taste a real sauce. Galetos.
May problema ka ba sa landlord mo? Baka AV ka na ni Kuya. May problema sa mga kapitbahay, sa trabaho. O kaya naman kay Mister o kay Mrs. Away tungkol sa mala, mga may utang, mga aksidente, daing o laban sa ospital or sa NHS, harassment, o baka naman may stalker ka na gusto mong ireklamo. Punta na sa DV Solicitors para matulungan ka pagdating sa mga litigations at iba pang mga legal concerns. DV Solicitors at 2nd floor, Howard House, St. John Street, Bedford, MK42 0DJ. Tumawag sa 01234-350-244 or 01234-225-188 o kaya naman mag-email sa d.quinto@dvsolicitors.com. Visit our website at www.dvsolicitors.com.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Okay, tuloy-tuloy ho tayo sa ating programa dito po sa Legal Advice Corner. At syempre, good evening once again doon sa ating mga kababayan na nanonood. Ako, nabubulol ako, nanonood. At sa mga first-time viewers, welcome mo dito po sa Legal Advice Corner. Syempre, tawagan natin once again yung ating pinakamamahal na abogada, walang iba kundi si Attorney Dana Quinto. Attorney, happy Tuesday once again.
Happy Tuesday, Mr. Laragan. And Direk Pao, thank you, Direk Pao, for setting us up as always. Happy Tuesday to everyone sa mga sulok ng mundo, Athens, USA, Middle East,
Yes.
UK, Pilipinas. Welcome back. Tuloy po kayo sa show natin. Matapos nating i-greet yung buong mundo nating mga kababayan natin from everywhere else. We're back now to talk about our topic for tonight, which is one of the favorite topics sa history ng show na to. It's always, because it's quite sexy, it's quite controversial, parati nating naririnig sa telenovela, sa mga soap opera, may mga drama na, signan mo yung prenup na yan bago tayo ikasal. It's always such a divisive topic. It's let's be honest, it's unromantic, it's controversial, it's sexy in a way, it's very, very modern. And I would say personally, misinterpreted siya in many occasions. Although I accept, and I will
Yes.
talk about my own experience as a lawyer, dun sa both pros and cons ng prenup. Well, legal view as well as yung mga practical experience kung ano yung nakita ko sa mga kaso that I handled in terms of prenup agreement mamaya. But you like the topic, Mr. Laragan, di ba? Isa to sa pinaka-favorite
Yes,
na
interesting.
topic natin.
Very interesting doon because sometimes it makes and breaks a person din eh. Some people, for example, kunyari, hindi nila ginawa tong prenup, and because of that, and eventually they found out that yung prospective lover or sweetheart, kung sino ba po yun, wasn't truly in the intention of marrying them for love, but for yung, kung ano yung properties, pera na meron na tao, masakit, no? So itong prenup can also be a way of preventing that, no? So sige, totoo yan, maganda yan, pinag-uusapan to. Ito one of our favorites kasi to. At di ba, yung marami tayong gusto ko ma-review natin to. So sige, attorney, take it away. Excited na kami pakinggan. Mga kaibigan, pros, no? Mga pros and cons ng prenup agreement. Sige, take it away, attorney.
Yes, bago tayo pumunta sa advantages and disadvantages ng prenup or prenuptial agreement, let's talk about ano ba to? Ano bang standing nitong prenuptial agreement na parati kong naririnig sa media, sa newspaper, sa telenovela. It's such a, as I've said, it seems like a modern invention. It seems like something that we've heard only in the past few years. Definitely in the UK, nitong 2010, there was this case that really paved the way for the Supreme Court of the UK to make a comment about how do we treat prenups in the UK. It's the case of Radmacher and Granatino. If you're a law student, if you're interested in legal trivia, that was the case. It's actually a German prenup na dinala dito sa UK. May jurisdiction sila dito sa UK. They're I think habitually resident here. May say ang UK jurisdiction on how they're going to treat this prenup. Dun i-apply nila dun sa couple na to in terms of their assets, most likely in the UK and potentially abroad. But dito talaga nabuksan yung opportunity for the legal system to finally say kung anong guidance yung mabibigay ng Supreme Court sa lahat ng legal professionals and lay people aside. How do we treat this thing, this prenuptial agreement? A prenuptial agreement, as the word suggests, bago ka ikasal, prenup, it really basically says how you're going to treat your finances during and after the marriage in the case of a termination. So a lot of people would say, ang romantic naman, inisip mo na agad na may katapusan to, di ba nga, till death do us part. So you've got a lot of those emotional connotation about this particular agreement. We're going to talk about that later on, but I will just say something about this case, Radmacher and Granatino. Bakit sobrang, if you're a law student, this is probably one of the most quoted cases in terms of prenup. Dahil ito yung first time na Supreme Court nagbigay ng komentaryo, nagbigay ng guidance sa aming mga abogado. And it was the start of my career, I remember it. It was so famous. It was everywhere in the news, everywhere in the legal papers. Dahil the judges are saying, actually, hindi pa rin ma-override ang jurisdiction ng korte. The court will have a final say. They will attach the weight on that prenup kung magde-decide sila ng final factors. And if the prenup is reasonable, they will uphold the prenup. So it just says, it underlines two things, that ang law ng family court, at least for England and Wales, will still and always have jurisdiction for any cases, which means for you that even if you have a valid prenup, that you can still make an application to the court. However, kung reasonable yung prenup mo, the judge will say, well, I will apply full weight to that prenup and I consider it fair in the circumstances. You're both adults. You both know what you're getting into. I looked at it. I checked at the law, Section 25 Matrimonial Causes Act. And once I've done my cross-check, this document appears reasonable, I will uphold it. So that's exactly what Radmacher and Granatino says in 2010. In legal context, I will say what it says is that any prenup, the court should give effect to nuptial agreement that is, asterisk, freely entered into with the full appreciation of its implication, unless circumstances prevailing it would not be fair to hold parties to that agreement. So 3 elements lang yan, yung sinabi ko, 3 elements, freely entered into. Kaya yung prenup dito sa UK, you can't just throw on the night of the wedding day. So that's the reason why we make it a point to start to tell the clients, if you want to have a prenup, you have to start negotiating siguro straight away after ng engagement nyo. You know, it has to be signed more than 28 days before your wedding. You can't just throw yung prenup mo on the night of your wedding day or before kayo ikasal, you know, a few hours before that. It's unlikely to be held na freely entered into yan dahil syempre pressured na eh. Kung nabayaran na lahat ng deposito sa venue, sa catering, sa lahat, what are you gonna do? You know, mapapahiya ka, nabigay mo na yung invitations mo. And then you've been given this prenup. And that's the reason why, you know, if you're looking to do one, straight away, begin that conversation. And from my experience as a lawyer, it's not gonna be an easy conversation to have. We will talk about that sa pros and cons mamaya. Why? Next, full appreciation of implications. That's the reason why hindi mo lang pwede ibigay yung dokumento. You also have to have financial disclosure. Sasabihin mo, oh, eto yung worth ko, eto yung assets. Eto yung assets na I want to keep in kung magdi-divorce tayo, you know, after 5 years or after 10 years or whatever, kung ano yung deal that you're trying to get the other side to agree to. In the same vein, the other side would also have to do their disclosures para alam nyo kung ano yung rights that you're giving up or rights that you are saying that should be preserved. So, hindi lang pwedeng sasabihin mo, ay, wala kang claim. So, ano yung wala akong claim? Saan ako walang claim? Ano ba tong, what am I giving up? You know, what are these assets that you're talking about? Ano yung background nito? And from experience, it's always good just to explain bakit ay sasabihin nito, because it's the common reason is it's an asset that is expected to be handed down generation to generation. Kumbaga tong generation na to steward lang, tagapag-alaga lang ng wealth ng family na to. It's very commonly known sa mga aristocrat families that they expect this to be handed down to the next generation and the next generation. So in the event of a divorce, they will try to protect that particular asset, whether it's a family home, whether it's a manor, it's a castle, it's a farm, it's a big estate. That's why sometimes, you know, it's important to give a background. It's important to give a full disclosure as well as the background. Why? What is the motivation behind this? You know, sasabihin mo, pinundar to ng mga ninuno ko, and they are expecting to pass it down to generation after generation. And hopefully maiintindihan nung mapapangasawa that, you know, this is in the event of a divorce. You know, normally during the course of the marriage, you probably would expect, you know, depende sa inyo, because sometimes they would say, well, we can have a use of the asset, or sasabihin na completely isolated talaga yung asset. You know, you just have to be clear kung ano yung sitwasyon, kung ano yung ini-expect nyo from each other in terms of your financial arrangement. So that's it. And then the final elements no Radmacher and Granatino na case is that it has to be fair. Kung hindi fair, pwedeng sabihin ng korte, no, we're not gonna uphold that. If it's not fair, if the circumstances surrounding this prenup says this is not fair, ayun pala, may anak kayo, or the circumstances have changed from there on, the court can still have the final say that it isn't fair, and we would have to apply our own consideration, our own discretion as a judiciary. Kami pa rin ang magbibigay ng final na approval kung ano ba talaga ang reasonable and fair in terms of the division of financial assets. So I hope that gives, the court, as you can see, is trying to give a balance na, okay, kung consenting adults kayo, alam nyo ginagawa nyo, patas naman to, and it's reasonable and fair, then fine. Pero kung hindi patas, then the court can intervene, and you still have that jurisdiction. Now, pros and cons, we're gonna get there kasi sinasabi natin na hindi lang, it's pagkakaalam natin, it's not just a negative thing. Some people think it's absolutely a negative thing dahil it's unromantic, bakit kailangan ng ganyan. May pros din, may pros din siya, and in certain situations, it's really, recommended. It's depende sa what you want to do with the asset. And in any event, may certain situations, second family, third family, or second or third marriage, that they don't want to go through divorce ever again. Na gusto na nila sabihin, pag, if we go to that point na talagang hindi na kaya, hope not, but if we get to that point na we don't want to be with each other anymore, I don't want to go to court. I want us to make a deal now, to have that talk now, na alam natin kung anong gagawin natin sa napundar natin at yung mga napundar natin bago tayo nagkakilala. So really, it's more for clarity. Yung pros niya is clarity and transparency. Alam mo kung ano yung what you're getting into, the financial landscape that you're getting into when you're marrying someone. Transparency dahil alam kung ano yung assets and liabilities ng isang tao. Alam mo kung ano yung expected sa'yo, ano yung pwede mong i-expect from the other side as well, from your spouse to be. So it gives that comfort na, ito yung magiging buhay ko, ito yung financial responsibilities that I'm taking over, and this is likely what will happen kung hindi magiging successful tong relationship na to. So that's a big pro in terms of prenuptial agreement. Second is protection of assets. I told you about cases, the reasoning behind it is mostly inherited assets, binigay ng parents. I'm coming from examples from cases that I've handled before. Most of the time it's inherited assets that have been passed on from generation to generation and is expected to be handed to the children na hindi siya matatouch on divorce. Sometimes it's also assets na binigay ng magulang, gifted by a third party, not necessarily parents lang, uncle or a relative na ang intention is that only for this person to benefit. So whatever it is, it's for the protection of assets. I've said also in my previous comment, second marriage, you build up, you're not young anymore, you build up this asset in your prime, yung prime economic, yung prime employment years mo, and you're coming towards a different phase ng buhay mo. So you're thinking, you're much more pragmatic, you've had the divorce once, you don't want to go through that again, you want to make sure na alam nyo pareho kung ano yung mangyayari pareho kayong may na-build up na asset. You want to keep that just in case mag-divorce kayo. You have children from other partners. You want to look after them. And you want to just build this separate life with this new partner. So that's also a reason for doing that. It's also a fairly common reason. Second one is debt protection. Both parties can agree to the other party will not be responsible for the other party's debt. Kasi pag wala kayong prenup or automatically you could have potentially joint debts together, and yung mga joint liabilities nyo potentially or kahit one person has only incurred that debt, potentially pwede kang madamay doon. So there might be a provision there na sasabihin mo, klaro ha, what you incurred on your own, you are responsible, and the other spouse will also be the same. It's totally up to you kung sasabihin nyo yung may joint debts kayo. If you have a joint account, obviously pareho kayo responsible doon. If you just want that provision or that clarity, you can have it. If you don't want it, then you can take it off the prenup. The next one is quite important. It's a compensation for loss of career. So if one party, I've seen it, especially with the younger couple, na one party is about to give up his or her career para sa future, sa family nila. They're both working, they're both earning well, they both have a good trajectory sa career nila, but someone has to look after the kids. So one party can make it clear, okay, I'm going to take care of the children. Okay, I'm expected to take a step back, but I would like this because I'm definitely giving up a very good career here. So at least napag-usapan nyo na, hindi na after 20 years or after 15 years kayo magkakaroon ng debate. And it's going to be a very expensive debate kung nasa divorce proceedings kayo with lawyers on both ends. If you're gonna have the agreement na, if you're gonna have the understanding now, at least nabigay nyo na yung reasoning nyo pareho, na-explain nyo na yung sarili nyo, kasi mostly from experience, ayun pala, may sama ng loob yung isang partido. Walang prenup, walang anything, the usual, 20 years, one party has to give up a career. Ayun pala, may resentment dahil they gave up a lucrative career para sa pamilya nila. And then they feel that's a divorce. They're fueled by that emotion. And it's gonna be problematic. So, kung dyan nyo pala, sa una nyo palang mapapag-usapan, hopefully, mas magiging holistic yung dialogue nyo. Mas maiintindihan yung dalawa kung ano yung nararamdaman ng isa't isa in terms of how are you, who's going to take a step back, sino yung magiging more hands-on sa family, sino yung magiging more hands-on in terms of getting out there and earning for the family. And ano yung epekto, not just economically, but psychologically, emotionally, at least mapag-usapan sa umpisa pa lang. And then you can talk, okay, I'm expecting this because this is what I feel I'm giving up. It's not perfect yung foresight natin lahat, which I will talk about sa cons dahil isa to sa disadvantages na hindi natin ma-foresee kung ano yung future natin lahat. But at least in terms of having that dialogue na may isa palang nafe-feel niya, ito pala yung magiging sacrifice niya for the family, then that's very, very, it could be very constructive. Kung napag-usapan nyo na lahat yung mga pwedeng mangyari pag nag-breakdown yung relationship mo, hopefully, it will minimize yung galit nyo kung nag-divorce kayo. It will minimize the arguments. It will minimize the legal cost. It will minimize all the aggravation, all the acrimony. So hopefully that's really one of the reasons why a lot of people do this, because a lot of them knows now with the best of intention we enter our relationships, but sometimes down the road, a few years down the road, it doesn't work out. it's not working, and you really have to make that very, very sad decision. And hopefully you've gone through those dialogues in your relationship na hindi na sobrang inflamed yung magiging diskusyon nyo kung paano nyo hahatiin yung pinundar nyo o mga naangkat nyo from previous marriage or from previous life that you want to keep separate. So that's really one of the big pros as well. Sometimes this can be used for protection of business partners. So sasabihin mo, wag mong, I have a share in this company. I don't, I want it to keep separate because really, it's problematic sometimes kung pwedeng i-divide yung company shares, because the company may say, well, we wanted to get into business with him or with her, but not necessarily with her spouse or with his spouse. So that's the reason why they try protecting that in terms of divorce. So kung may company kayo, it's worth looking at a prenup. Kung may company shares kayo, if you're running a business with other partners, or you're part of a limited company, it's always worth looking at this prenuptial agreement. The same thing, we talked about clarity, transparency. You can also put there your provision on death. So what would happen to your assets in terms of that? This is not a substitute for will. Let's be clear about that. But it can be a way to say, pag kami, this is what I really wanted to do. But make sure na lahat ng dokumento mo consistent. One of pinaka-advantage din ng prenup is the freedom that it allows you to agree whatever it is that you can agree between you, to define kung paano nyo hahatiin yung finances nyo, so long as it's reasonable. So that's very attractive to a lot of people na, okay, hindi siya ganun ka-romantic, but it's very pragmatic. And it's very, it's liberating. Kasi imbes na sabihin ng judge sa inyo at some point in the future kung paano nyo hahatiin yung life savings nyo, yung pinundar nyo, both of you have that ultimate freedom to decide upon it at that particular, at least you know how it will, ano yung starting point nyo when you began this relationship or this partnership, this marriage together. And most of all, yung inumpisahan ni Mr. Laragan na problema ng kaibigan niya, it really clarifies if one party is just marrying for money. So minsan sinasabi, sige nga, kung willing to mag-sign ng or willing to negotiate a reasonable prenuptial agreement, it clarifies na bibigyan ka ng peace of mind. Ako nga, no, okay naman, hindi naman talaga yun yung habol niya sa akin she was willing or he was willing to sign a prenup agreement. So it gives you that comfort. Wala na sa likod ng na iniisip-isip mo, pera lang ba habol na to? Hindi. At least that gives you that, that extra comfort. Saying all of that, hindi siya perfect. It's not perfect, far from perfect at all. It has its own disadvantages too. Hindi siya depende sa implementation most of the time. Depende sa tao, depende sa participants, depende sa characters, depende sa sitwasyon. The first sort of disadvantage is, katulad ng summary na as per the summary that I've given, yung long summary, the long narrative about Radmacher and Granatino's story, hindi talaga siya super legal. It's not legally binding in a sense na it can be valid, but pwede pa rin mag-apply yung isang partido for the court to pretty much review it, to check kung reasonable ba to. So hindi siya an authority on its own. The court will still have the jurisdiction to check this prenup. So sasabihin na, bakit pa ako mag-enter ng prenup kung ganun din naman, kung titingnan din naman ng korte at the end of the day. But I would say, still for all the other reasons, as I've said, if reasonable yung prenup, no, there's no reason why the court should not uphold it. As long as reasonable, as long as you followed all those guidance, it's still valid as long as it's reasonable. One of the disadvantages is the difficulty to foresee kung ano mangyayari sa future. So when you talk about having children, di nyo naman alam kung, ilang anak ba magkakaroon kayo. Up to a point you can plan, but you don't really know kung ano yung needs ng mga bata, ano yung mangyayari sa future. So it's very, very difficult to really draw up an agreement at the start, thinking about all those factors. Potentially, there are changes in circumstances, not just children, work. Sometimes someone will also get ill, mawawala ng capability to work. So that prenup na inisip nyo na fully capable kayong dalawa will be unreasonable kung biglang may isa na disabled. So that's the reason why most lawyers would draft, if not all lawyers, would draft a review provision. Either pag may material change of circumstance kayo, and even say 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, 10 years anniversary, we really push you to review it. Kasi, life changes. We cannot foresee everything perfectly from the start. So you really have to look at, to tweak it, recalibrate it, reasonable pa ba to, so that as close as possible kung magkakaroon man ng breakdown ng relationship, the prenup would still be upheld. In terms of epekto niya sa mga participants, and I can vouch for this from my experience of the cases, a lot of people do feel na unromantic pa rin siya, and it adds stress. That's the reality. We have to be real about these things, and mas mabuti, ika nga ni Mr. Laragan, early warning device. Ito yung early warning device nila. So it's you're doing your wedding preparation. Wedding in itself is very stressful. So you're gonna add a prenup negotiations to that. You have to expect it to add stress to the whole situation. Kasi one party, you're gonna start talking about finances. You're gonna start talking about, in one end, nagpe-prepare ka ng wedding. On the other end, you're also preparing for the end of the marriage. So people will find, ano to? Anong nangyayari dito? It can cause upset. I've seen that. Hindi lang dun sa participants, ha? Pati yung relatives, yung parents. Kasi sasabihin, kailangan daw ni DANNA ng disclosure. Ano daw yung mga asset ng family, ganon. So sasabihin dun sa ate, bakit ganon? Bakit, some parties may feel na, bakit minamaliit ba tayo, or ganito ba tingin sa atin, or whatever. It can get misinterpreted. Kaya yun sinabi ko nung una, it's often misinterpreted. That's the reason why yung dialogue, the reason behind it, yung kung ano yung gusto nyong i-achieve, it has to be discussed between those two. Yung talagang magkakaroon ng yung dalawang partido, and maybe yung family din nila, not just with the lawyers, but the participants and the rest of the family, na maklaro kung ano yung gusto ma-achieve ng agreement na to, na hindi maging offensive, hindi maliitin yung isang partido versus the other party, and hindi maging vulnerable, hindi ma-feel ng isang, we call economically weaker party, na vulnerable siya. And that's the reason why we say you have to get your own independent legal advice, para alam mo, para yung abogado mo could also push for you, and then maklaro kung ano yung expectations mo from this marriage, and if it does break down, what are you guys looking to have? From experience, in terms of handling these cases, that's the reason why highly recommended please give a very good amount of time. Months po, not weeks, months. Give it a few months dahil there are times na you're doing the wedding preparation and ayaw mo talaga pag-usapan yung prenup. So sometimes when I'm asking people, they will say, well, sandali lang, hang on a minute, Dana, kasi we're quite busy having a tasting session. Ayaw pa namin pag-usapan yung, potential end ng relationship namin, or we're doing a tasting of the cake. So that's the reason why, we do recommend to allow a good time for it, to allow people to be comfortable with the idea of it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I really, really do stand by. It's personal opinion. I accept. Ibang tao does not necessarily share that opinion. I've seen it work. I've seen it na never nilang tinouch yung they went through it. They had a good chat about it. And they never needed it. Talagang andun lang siya, and they went on and they had a fantastic life. They have fantastic life together, still together. And yes, may other instances then na talagang, they would have to they had difficult conversations about it, and yung iba inabandon na talaga yung idea ng prenup, and yung iba naman got into it, used it, and it worked. They had a prenup, they looked at the prenup, the relationship did not work out, and they used it, and they said, okay, fair enough, yan yung pinag-usapan natin. Meron ding iba na they tried raising it with the court. They tried challenging it with the court, and then you will go to the Radmacher and Granatino case. Yun yung case precedent. But as I've said, it's always a divisive, controversial, very, very interesting topic. Isa sa pinaka-paborito ni Mr. Laragan. It has its pros, it has its cons. It's up to you kung ito yung para sa'yo, but it definitely has some merits kung gusto nyong magamit ito para sa ikabubuti ng relasyon. It's really for, to have an open dialogue sa relationship. But what do you think, Mr. Laragan? What do you think about prenups?
Well, sa akin, from what I've seen, no? Okay ba? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, you can hear you. Okay, yeah, okay. Baka ako hindi pa na-switch on, no? Sa akin, it's quite important, no? Sabi mo parang unromantic yan, pero like what I've seen right now, no? This ating friend who's really to the point of no? But anyway, hindi ko mabanggitin lang, pero mabigat eh. And if nagkaroon ng prenup, hindi maiiwasan tong kanyang gantong situations, no? Yung situation na sobrang stress, eventually finding out na you were not actually loved, di ba? And it was something else that was actually the intention of the other party, no? So, at saka you have to choose wisely then. So, falling in love, unromantic nga lang pakinggan. Pero sa akin, okay lang. Dapat there has to be a prenup talaga sa mga cases. Lalo na kung yung sinabi mo, pinaghirapan mo during yung kalakasan mo pa, yung di ba, yung productive years mo. Tapos nakapagpundar ka, di ba?
Correct.
Tapos
Very,
biglang
very important.
mag-aasawa ka lang. Tapos, di ba, second marriage mo. Ano to, sa mga telenovela nakikita natin din. May mga ganyan, di ba? Or people fall in love and then, di ba, may mga May December affair. Most likely, nangyayari yan kasi, I don't know, yung lalaki o babae, as the case may be, would want probably to have a younger partner. And, okay naman yun. Kanya nga lang yun nga, talo sila yung kung lahat ng kanilang mga pinaghirapan, no? Eh, mapupunta lang sa wala, no? So,
Absolutely.
maganda yung kinakwenta mo rin sa protection of assets. Kung protection of assets, for example, mapapangasawa mo medyo mayaman, anak ng zero, no? May properties na parang pinamana lang, na parang yung steward lang sila, no? So, may enjoy mo rin, parang gano'n, di ba? As a partner, you will, as a wife, the husband, you will enjoy the fruits of the, kaya lang, you don't own it, no? Di ba?
Yeah.
It's something generational that has to be passed on to some other,
Exactly. Exactly.
Pero ikaw,
Exactly.
attorney, how you most of your clients, siyempre wala namang disclosing confidentiality, but just saying the general parang parang scoreboard. Most of your clients have it, or do they did not have it but they sort of nagsisi, gusto nila sana nagkaroon? Anong situation?
May mga it's hard to say kasi yung mga dalawa yung naging kliyente ko is either nagdi-divorce ngayon o yung ibang
Oh, okay.
kliyente ko is nagkaroon when I was talking about clients who wanted me to draft a divorce. Certainly may mga clients na I said, look, you should have, hindi, ayaw mo naman sabihin na parang sinisi mo sila, di ba? Na parang sabihin mo, sana nag-prenup ka.
Tama.
O, kasi
Mm-mm.
it's mahirap balikan eh. Kung ano yung kasi at that time, sobrang ano sila eh.
In love.
Sobrang
Maganda ba, di ba?
in love talaga. Oo. May mga iba talaga
Mm.
na sabi ko, sana, sana, minsan sinasabi ko, eto ha, pag after divorce. And I'm honest, sasabihin ko, on your next one, kung yung mga asset na mamanahin mo, o kung if you're looking to remarry again, it's worth considering a prenup agreement. Kung hindi na kayo magkakaanak, alam mo yun, yung kung foreseeable na yung future nyo, second marriage, napundar nyo na, you know exactly na eto na yung magiging joint lives nyo. There's not much change to happen, pero you're bringing assets from a previous life. So I have to say na it's one of your options. It's definitely up to you. The same as cohabitation agreement. We talked about cohabitation agreement. We do say that to clients, but very interesting ang mga reaction ng ng tao. It's getting more yung knowledgeable ang mga masa ngayon about prenup. It used to be talaga nasasabihin, ay, unromantic naman yan, ay, that's very, it's very parang quite offensive sometimes.
Parang tabu. Parang
Parang
tabong
tabu.
pag-usapan.
No, younger people.
Huwag natin pag-usapan yan. Nakakaano, di ba?
Huwag
Ha?
natin pag-usapan.
Ano yan, attorney?
Younger people are doing it more these
Oo.
days. Younger people are doing it more these days. I found that. And mga second marriages. So yun yung from experience. I don't know what other lawyers are, kung ano yung statistics nila. But yeah, yung sabi ko, yung may mga career loss of career, kung sasabihin nila, ayaw nyo man ng prenup o hindi, I think it's always still good to talk about that. Anong mangyayari if one person is about to give up
Okay.
their career.
Yung loss of career, for example, paano yan? How is it? Paano ang concept niyan? I mean, nagmahalan kayo, pareho kayo may career dati, tapos yung isa mag-give up. Ano ang hinahabol? Anong isasabihin sa prenup na pag nagano tayo, hating-hati, kasi isa would be giving up his or her career, di ba? Or most likely yung babae, her career. Anong benefit niya with this getting into the prenup? Ano niya yan? Habol niya?
What probably it will have an impact on, especially kung magkakaroon ng anak. That's mostly the reason why somebody would have to give up the career. So sasabihin ng isa, ayan na, if I am to give up my career for 15 years, you have to acknowledge na yun ang contribution ko to the family. You can't turn around and say, I have to, I worked for everything, I paid the mortgage, I paid everything, and you just stayed at home. If you had that talk at the start, you will say, ito ang division of labor natin. I'll take care of the house and you go out and work. No one can say at the end of 15 years na wala akong kinontribute, or you can't have that psychological barrier sa'yo na this is not a 50-50 case after 15 years or after 12 years or after 10 years. It is very clear that I would have had a good career if we did not agree that division of labor sa pamilya natin. It's just good in terms of allowing people to have that discussion na hindi nila sila shock after 10 or 15 years Na ayun pala sa isip ng isa, siya lang yung nagpundar. Pero sa isip ng isa, hindi nag-give up ako ng career ko. That conversation should happen at the start na ma-recognize nyo sa isa't isa kung ano yung contribution nyo sa magiging setup ng pamilya nyo. And that don't be shocked if at 10 to 15 years, the court would say, and the court does say this, na sinasabi nila, well, you didn't just you didn't just pay for all the mortgage. Hindi mo kayang bayaran yung mortgage na you would not have a lovely family, lovely 2 children, doing brilliantly at school, you have a good career, you have food on the table, you have a clean home. The reason being is that your spouse was there and gave up his or her career for the last 10 to 15 years. And that's the reason why it's 50-50. That's the reason why yung korte dito, do not do a tallying up. Magkano yung binayad mo sa mortgage o magkano yung binayad ni Mrs. Ay, wala palang inano si Mrs. Wala palang kinontribute si Mrs. Nag-alaga lang ng anak. It doesn't work like that. The court really gives a recognition for the child, the raising of the family, the looking after the children, especially for long marriages, yung matagal na it's very clear that one party has to take a step back. Kasi alam natin lahat dito, Mr. Laragan, mahal ang child minders, mahal ang au pair, mahal ang, if you've got kids, you really have, unlike sa atin sa Pilipinas na pwede si lola, pwede si auntie mag-alaga, pwede si pinsan dito, it's if you're gonna get the balance right, if you're gonna get a nanny for your kid and you have to go work most of the time, kung ano yung in-earn mo, yun lang ibabayad mo dun sa nanny. So what's the point, diba? That's a lot of the mothers or the fathers as well. It's not me. Yun ang nagiging consideration nila. Who's gonna give up their career for the first few years na yung mga bata ay kailangan pa ng really focused attention in terms of child rearing. That's the reason why you have to have that conversation now para alam nyo, ma-recognize nyo sa isa't isa na yun pala ang contribution ng isa't isa dyan sa family setup nyo. And then you can say, okay, I'm gonna give that up. But if we're gonna divorce in 5 years time or 10 years time or 15 years time, I'm expecting this.
Ayun, oo. Pero kanina nasabi mo, you can also change as you go along, di ba? Nagbabago na yung
definitely.
mga situation, nagbabago. Pero ang kailangan ito, ideally 28 days before wedding, ito hindi pwedeng sa last minute ibigay sa'yo, no? So kunyari may kababayan tayo, ginanyan, halimbawa, kababayan natin, may lalaki na biglang, hey, sweetheart, di, malapit, 2 days before, ito, pakipirmahan mo nga itong prenuptial.
Yeah.
Pwede bang umatras? Ang problema, masisira yung wedding, di ba? Parang
Exactly.
makakancel, no?
Exactly. Yeah, di ba? Kaya
mas mabuting i-cancel na, di ba? So sorry, go ahead. Sabi ko lang gusto move yung wedding, tama. Move yung kung talaga mahal ka ni lalaki o ni babae, whoever. Oo, kasi yung kokonti, yung gastos na yun, actually mas malaking repercussion nun later on in the future, di ba? Kung hindi ka makakapag-ano.
That's the reason why we have this information empowerment. Sabihin nyo, kung may naririnig ko yung gusto mag-prenup, anuhan nyo wag habaan nyo yung time ng na pag-sign ng prenup That's the reason why we want this information to go around. We want this information to be circulated. If you want that, and if you want that agreement to be valid, you have to do that well in advance. Wag lang kayong magdo-drop na sarili nyong agreement 2 days before. And as Mr. Laragan said, kung yung matitipid yung gagastusin nyo for moving it, it's probably smaller compared to what you will lose out in a divorce later on. In legal fees, mahal ang legal fees, mahal ang time sa buhay, ang stress, ang lahat-lahat. If you can deal with it from the start, it's much better. If you look at it from that point of view, and not necessarily from a purely romantic or unromantic point of view, you're just doing as a business, parang contingency planning. contingency planning lang ito. What if this happens? What are we gonna do? Kung may fire drill at earthquake drill nga tayo, well, ganun din siguro yung prenup. Parang fire or it's a drill. What do we do in the event of this unfortunate situation?
Ayun. Okay. Ayan, at least malinaw-linaw yan ng konti, no, para sa ating mga kababayan. Para nang sa ganun, if you want to go into this, no, yan, mapag-usapan, you could probably discuss kasi yun ang mga repercussions. Ano ang mga pwede mong parang, di ba, yung may counter offer, may counter din yan, di ba? When this is presented to you, you also try to counter it, di ba? Kaya nga 28 days para may... Oo, di ba?
They do negotiate, Mr. Laragan. So nakakatawa kasi, di ba, mag-wedding prep sila. Tapos mag-negotiate sila, no? Prenup nila after. So,
grabe, no? Nakakatawa. Pero that's reality, that's modern, that's reality nowadays, di ba? Talagang kailangan talaga, if you have to go, and if you are presented with that, no? At least, you know what to do, no? Alam na alam ninyo, no? You're given so many days to, more or less, to comment on it, no? Okay, well, mabuhay. So, sa mga nagmamahalan ho, hindi lang ho basta-basta ang pagmamahalan. These are things that you have to discuss. Kasi kamukha nun, eto, may case nga tayo, yung sinasabi nga natin, yung many productive years niya, tapos na nakapagpundar, and then he or she fell in love. Halimbawa, kung na in love, o de, ma-in love ka, biglang wala palang ano, di ba? Later na malalaman mo, hindi pala true ang love sa'yo, no? Di ba? Sakit yun. May mga tao nagpapakamatay o nag-ano, di ba? So, okay. May question yata si Ed. Sige, para isang question tayo bago we end with our final greetings, no? Sige, go ahead. Ayan, may question si Ed yata. Si Ed,
can you still do a prenup after the marriage? What are you gonna call it? After nap? Ed, yes. Actually, I'm doing one at the moment. I'm doing a post-nup at the moment. So, nagda-draft ako ng...
So, nakasal na?
I'm not breaking confidentiality. It's a
yeah, okay lang.
It's a post-nuptial agreement. Papakita ko lang. So, there is a post-nup.
Tanggalin mo yung card dyan, lower thirds natin. Pakitanggal direct. Yung lower third natin. Yan, okay. Yan.
Walang partido. Okay. No, don't worry. I'm not breaking confidentiality. Blank pa to. I'm trying to...
Blank lang naman yan. Oh. So, ganyan ang form.
Blank,
so, pwede. The answer is yes.
This is the first page. This is the first page of a post-nuptial agreement.
Pwede, Kasi prenup, no? Nung nag-isip-isip na, oy, teka muna. Parang no? So, ganun pa rin. Is it 28 days pa rin, attorney?
No, maraming circumstances. Obviously, iba na to. Para bang nag-review lang kayo ng sitwasyon nyo at ngayon you've come to an agreement na you want to talk about what will happen to you kung magdi-divorce kayo. Less siguro yung weight niya kasi wala na kayong option eh. Kasal na kayo eh. What can you do? But yeah, ang most important dito is disclosures. So at least kung alam nyo kung ano yung meron kayo, alam nyo kung ano yung i-give up nyo, and if it's reasonable and fair in the circumstance, pwede pa rin ma-uphold. Yun nga lang, you can't say na ay kung hindi yan na hindi naman ako mag-enter ng relationship na to, so or ng marriage na to. You won't have that that point, but pwede pa rin kayong you can agree on things. That means that someone if you get into a situation where nag-break down yung relationship nyo, one party can say, well, that this post-nup was only signed 2 months ago. Pareho pa rin naman yung sitwasyon. Ito lang naman yung aming assets. We've had full disclosure. We have both our lawyers. We thought we're gonna separate, but we had to go at it. We tried again, we reconciled. Kaso, wala talaga eh. hindi talaga kami magkakabalikan. So we're gonna go back kung ano yung pinag-usapan namin. So that's yun yung mga situation where it will arise. There would be something that has happened. Or, I'll tell you what, sometimes kung medyo, halimbawa, sagad-sagad na 28 days o 21 days yung prenup na signan, mahaba-haba yung negotiation, pero talagang sinagad talagang nani-negotiate, and sabi ng abogado, we're not quite comfortable, masyadong close yung signature nyo dun sa date of wedding nyo. Sometimes what lawyers would say is, paki-verify lang via a postnup yung agreement nyo. So you might just wanna sign again a postnuptial agreement. The problem with that is, it's every time na may agreement kayo, it's costly, it's legal cost. So depende sa kung ano yung sitwasyon. Sometimes it calls for it, sometimes it doesn't. So that's what postnuptial agreement. May mga certain situations where it would be applicable, but certainly there is a term called postnuptial agreement.
Well, good question, Edgar. Maraming salamat
Very
for
good
that. Yun ang
question.
ating question for tonight, no? For tonight. At tuloy na natin siguro, magpapaalam na tayo, attorney. But let's make way for some of the greetings para naman mapagbigyan natin that ma-acknowledge yung kanilang effort of greeting us. Sige, direct, ipasok natin yung ating mga, pakibasa direct, attorney, no? Hindi ko lang mabasa kasi malilit masyado sa akin.
Si Edgar, okay na yan, yung after natin. Edgardo Cagastian is still working from home while watching a very informative show.
Sumagot siya. Okay, good.
Oh, Edgardo, thank
Mabuhay.
you so much. Marites Allen, hello to my favorite host, Attorney Donna, and super guapong parang Sonny Laragan. Hugs from beautiful Venice, Italy. Grazie mille, Marites Allen.
Alright.
It's
Hindi ba natin nabasa
having you.
kanina? Nasa Venice yata. Parang next na niya,
Yes.
second message niya.
Correct.
Okay, good. Alright.
Pasyal lang.
Sino pa yan?
Good
Mare,
everyone.
Enjoy ka na, Mare,
Happy
Si Marites, Sino yan? Sa
Pasyal
YouTube.
lang
Sino yan?
says, good evening everyone and happy Tuesday. Ganda ng
Pasyal
profile
galing.
niya.
Ganda naman.
Oo.
Galing naman,
Enach
magkahalo, YouTube at saka
Mary.
Facebook,
Yes.
Enach. Mary Jane siguro.
Mary, good Jane yan. Yeah, Jane Mary. Hello, good
Mary
evening
Jane,
po,
yeah.
attorney and Sir Sonny. Watching from Prague, Czech Republic. Good evening. Maraming salamat.
Mabuhay, sa
Rufino.
mga taga-Prague.
Yes,
Yes,
mga taga
Rufino.
Prague. Rufino, Bana, okay naman po. Video niyo, attorney. Okay naman. Okay, very good. At sir, blooming ni attorney. Thank you, Rufino. Thank you.
Yeah. Sa attorney,
Buenas
di ba?
sera.
Beauty and Brains yan.
Yeah.
Ano yan? Buenas
Sabi ni
sera, Italy?
Edgar Tumaritas Allen, buena sera daw. Ayan, nag-Italiano
Buenas
na.
sera.
Ciao!
Yan, si Marites Allen. Yes.
Ciao daw.
Ciao, oo.
Carding
YouTube.
Sungkit Pinoy Truckers from YouTube. Good evening po sa lahat, attorney and Sir Sonny. Watching from Germany, Pinoy Truckers Europe. Maraming salamat. Para may mga tayo.
Mabuhay,
Pinoy
mga...
Truckers.
Ilan kaya ang kasi nasa Germany, minsan nasa Czech Republic, Poland, minsan nasa Denmark. Mabuhay kayo, Ingat sa pagmamaneho.
Mabuhay, ingat po
Siyempre,
kayo
long
sa
distance yan.
Oo, ingat
Long
po.
distance driving yan. Ano yan? Cross country yan. O
Yes.
inter-country. Sa Germany, papunta ng Poland, papunta ng Czech Republic, papunta ng Denmark, papunta ng kung saan na pupunta yan, mga yan. No? Mabuhay kayo. Ingat. We love you guys. We appreciate you watching us.
Sana may interview
Ano yan,
mo sila,
attorney?
Mr. Laragan, sa susunod.
Yes.
Sana may interview
We'll do that.
Yeah. Sana matanong
Pinoy
natin itong mga
Interesting.
question na to, no?
Interesting.
Diba?
Interesting kasi dahil may mga Pinoy pala na mga trackers. Di ba sa Amerika, sikat na sikat yung mga
Buhay
trackers.
Pinoy.
May malalaki mga,
Yes.
di ba? Oo, buhay Pinoy. Mabuhay.
Buhay Pinoy.
Sige,
Sa
okay.
mga Pinoy truckers. Kamusta
Yes.
po kayo? Ingat po
Mabuhay
kayo
kayo,
parati.
Ayan, oo. Sino yan? Sino yung naka-message pala yan, attorney?
Victoria Lucero Oligo, watching from Cyprus. Tama ka, Mr. Laraga. Maraming Pilipino sa Cyprus. So, magandang gabi sa iyo, Victoria. At sa lahat ng mga Pilipinong kababayan natin sa Cyprus. Magandang gabi.
Comparing,
Based
the number of Filipinos in Cyprus and ang Greece, mas marami nga Cyprus. Yeah, go ahead, attorney. Oy, ano yan?
Yeah,
YouTube,
Peter
yes, go.
Reta is saying prenup is always difficult. That's a fair comment. That is an absolutely fair comment. Fair yun. Tama. Difficult. It's difficult. It's
Difficult to open up, di ba? To open up. Go ahead, attorney.
Tsaka unromantic nga di ba? I told you about all these
Diba? Oo
clashes.
nga.
Sometimes mag-wedding preparation ka tapos pag-uusapan nyo yung ending ng ending ng marriage nyo after nyo mag-cake testing. So it is difficult.
Wow. It is difficult talaga. Difficult yan. Oo. Sige, meron pa ba? O, ano pa ba nandyan?
JD Perez watching from Taytay. Rizal. Taytay Rizal. Magandang
Ba, Pilipinas yan, ha? Oo.
Oo, Pilipinas.
JD Perez, mabuhay.
Ma'am
Oo,
Cora
Pilipinas,
Corsara, buenasera to Sir Edgar Duay and Madam Marites Allen. Ba, nag-Italiano na lahat.
Oo, ginawa na. Okay, galing, ha? Then nasa Europe kasi tayo kaya iba-iba ang languages German, 'di ba? Italian, Spanish. Good. Attorney ikaw, you enjoy it now, no? Sa Europe, no? You like life in Europe.
I like Europe
You
very
like
much.
talaga,
I like
maganda,
the
no?
language. Yeah, I like the language. Gusto ko yung architecture Gusto ko yung feeling na, alam mo yun, naglalakad-lakad ka sa coupled steps, tapos kakain-kain. And yung language, Mr. Laragan, I really, really enjoy hearing different languages. Nung una ko napuntang Germany, nasa nasa train nila. Tuwang-tuwa ako dun sa Kasi akala ko nung una, matigas yung German. Tapos nung andun na ako, tuwang-tuwa ako kasi puro German yung pinagsasabi dun sa parang tube nila. So I really enjoy that.
Attorney? Sanya, which part of Germany? Are you talking Hamburg?
Hamburg. I went to Hamburg a very long time ago, about 4 years ago. Yeah, about 4 years ago, I went to Hamburg. So yeah, nakakatawa. Hello sa mga taga-Hamburg dyan, kina ate, yung pinsan ng pinsan ko, Kitita Glo. Hello.
Hamburg.
Shout
Hamburg. Hamburg, mabuhay.
Hamburg.
Pero
And
mga
shout
Germans,
out to
iba-iba
Chai.
ang Sino? Attorney? Chai?
Chai, yung si Chai. Nanonood so, yes.
Chai.
You were saying Hamburg
mabuhay,
is a maritime na
it's a maritime.
port ang Hamburg.
No,
It's a maritime port.
what I also wanted to say is that different parts of Germany will have different accents as well, di ba? Kanya-kanyang mga tunog na siguro. Di ba, kamukha English dito. Pag you go I think so. Kasi let's say dito, di ba, English, pag umakyat ka ng konti, punta ka Scotland, matigas. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I'm going up the stairs. Oh, di ba, tigas? Where are you? My friends, di ba, matigas, di ba? Lalo yung mga Glaswegian accents din, di ba?
Yeah,
Pababa
that's right.
meron namang. But that's nice, no? Nakakatuwa dito sa atin sa Europa. Nagbabatian sila sila Ma'am Cora, sila Ed, Duay. Nagbabatian sila ng mga Italian, no? So, magandang gabi sa inyo lahat.
Yeah. Talking
Rudy
about
Bro,
Ireland, dito, baka makalimutan natin. Happy Tuesday daw. Beautiful attorney Donna and good-looking, lovely hair, Sir Sonny. And all kababayan, Team Lebroho. This is from Ireland, right? Talking about Europe. Ayan. Ganda ng hair.
Yung hair ko. Papagupit na ako, papa-layer. Mahaba na
Papalayer.
masyado, pero papalayer ko lang, attorney, no? Para para medyo masyado nga mahaba-haba na Kailangan magba. New look, no? Parang new look.
New look.
So, yeah, well, meron pa ba? Ayan na. Sino? Si Edgar yata to.
Si Edgar Duay nagtatanong sa mga Euro truckers natin kababayan kung paano daw mag-apply as truckers kung galing kang Pinas, ibang bansa. So, yes, reply. dapat talaga ma-interview mo itong mga truckers natin.
Panoorin mo yung show panoorin mo yung show na kahapon sa Edgar. We were discussing that, no? Kasi sabi ni Ludi Samson, yung one of the truckers, yung boss daw niya gustong parang dumirekta mag-apply sa Pilipinas, kumuha ng sa Pilipinas, ano ba pwede maitulong daw ng embassy. Sabi ng embassy, hindi, kailangan may proseso kasi merong agency din may agency sa Pilipinas na kung saan nag-apply sila Ludi, may agency din katumbas yan sa Czech Republic. Ganon. Tapos, yun. Bale, proseso. Hindi pwedeng gawin nilang na kunyari gusto nung, dahil kunyari may kaibigan niyo si Ludi sa Samson sa Pilipinas, kaibigan niyo, kumpare niya, gusto niyong dalhin, it will have to go through a process from that, go to the agency in the Philippines, yung katuwang na agency sa Czech Republic, gano'n ang sistema. And then, saka na yung employer niya, kung sino yung mag-hire ng tracking. No? Maganda kwento yan. Kwento kasi nila, they have to learn Czech language. And then nandun sila, they have to undergo mga tests and everything para ma-pass na nila yung kanilang test. Eventually, to be employed by the company. But, meanwhile, habang nag-aaral pa sila at they're getting siguro yung mga theory test at kung ano pa yan o mga examination nila, nagtatrabaho sila sa pabrika. Ganon, in the meantime. Ganon ang kwento in the meantime. Tama ba yun, Direk? Yung mga kwento sa atin kapon?
Tama ba?
Tama ba yun, Direk? Yep, tama. Yan. Okay.
Tama daw.
So, ganun ang kwento.
Tama daw.
Okay. Well,
fact checker si Ed. Si Edgar Dua, ito, nag-Italiano na. Nag-Italiano na talaga si Ed.
Okay.
Mampora. Sto bene, grazie, prendite. Cura di te, ewan ko. Ano ba meaning yan, Ed?
Ibig sabihin yan, Edgar, ikaw naman, ginugulat mo kami. Pero alam mo, attorney, gusto ko talaga before in this life, bago man lang ako mawala sa mundo nito, gusto kong maka-fluent ako sa Spanish. Na kaya ko makapag-usap sa bayan ng Spanish sa Espanyol. Kasi nakakatawa. I love the language. So, I listen to the radio station nila, yung Cadena Dial. It's a favorite on mine. So, other than yung ating station, Cadena Dial, nakikinig ako. Cadena Dial, hunin yun. Cadena, tapos Dial. Dial, parang dial. Cadena Dial. Ayun. Okay. Nag-enjoy tayo sa na. Okay,
nag-enjoy
attorney,
tayo.
sige. Siguro magpaalam na tayo.
Napasarap tayo ng usapan at kung nag-Italiano na tayo lahat at nag-Spanyol.
Attorney, ano gusto mo? If you were, ikaw ba, let's say, are you meaning or, intending nasa bucket list mo ba to learn a language? And if you do, which particular language? Or languages ba? Are you talking of, you want to learn French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, ganyan? Ano meron sa'yo?
Probably languages.
Wala.
I really want to learn how to speak French. I started YouTube ako, Duolingo, so I wanted to learn French and potentially Italian. It's a beautiful language.
Italian.
It's such a beautiful language. French and
Tsaka
Italian.
parang ikaw din yan, Attorney. Italian, di ba kasi di ba Ilonggo ang original parang originate yung sa family, di ba? Original, di ba? Family niyo? Ilonggo nga ba?
Yes. Ilonggo.
Yeah,
I can speak
kasi parang Ilonggo ang Italian eh. Brang, sanay si parang di ba malambing. Parang
malambing. Grazie mille.
Maganda tunog ng mga Spanish. Ng Italian. I love it,
That's right.
I love it. Buona bene, tita, sarata. Mabuhay. Mabuhay.
Pwede.
Ay, hindi, yung tunog lang, attorney, pero natutuwa kasi ako, di ba, nasa Rome ako eh, pag nag-uusap yung mga Italian, nakakatuwa eh. Maganda. Na-enjoy sa Europe. Uy, yung ating kaibigan si attorney, talking of Rome kasi napasok sa akin. Sa Vatican, nandiyan na si Ambassador Myla Makahilig na dumating na siya. So,
fantastic.
May bago na tayong ambassador. So wala tayong problema sa tutulugan natin sa Vatican. Pupuntahan doon. Baka meron pa tayong si Pope, baka makita pa natin kung sakasakali. Baka sakali, di ba? Baka, di ba? Hindi naman natin sinasabing kakayanin. Baka, dahil ambassador eh. Philippine ambassador to the Vatican.
That's right.
Si
Galing.
Ambassador
Very
Myla
good.
Makahilig. Ambassador, mabuhay.
Hello po, Amba.
Sa yung posting, si Amba. Oo. si Amba Maymay. Ayan ang kanyang nickname sa kanyang mga kasamahan. Amba Maymay. Ayun pala, Maymay.
So,
Okay, well, attorney, sige. Magpaalam na tayo. How do they get in touch with you? Baka gusto magpa-prenup agreement at sa iba't iba pang mga serbisyong legal na pwedeng nilang mahingi at maitulong, ano sa inyo, no? Makuha sa inyong company, no? Go ahead, please, attorney.
yes, you can email me at d.quinto@dvsolicitors.com or call me at 01234-225-188. Again, it's d.quinto@dvsolicitors.com. At telephone number is 01234-225-188. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat, Direk Pao. Maraming salamat, Mr. Laragan, at maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga taga-subaybay. Ika nga ng mga Italiano, grazie mille sa inyong lahat. Thank you, everyone. Ingat pa rin, and keep smiling. Happy Tuesday pa rin tayo. Happy Wednesday, happy Thursday, happy every day. So, we'll see you again next week. Si Mr. Laragan ay nasa Espanya next week. So next week for Spanish lessons naman tayo. Tapos natin mag-Italiano ngayon. Mr. Laragan will teach us Spanish next week.
Nag-ano ka ng Italian, parang hindi ko masyadong marunong. Wala akong masyadong alam sa Italian eh. Pero yung sa akin lang yung pagpapaalam
Thank you very much yun. Thank you very much. Yeah, grazie mille.
Thank you very much. Oh, very good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yun naman,
It's
sa Spanish naman, yung mga hasta luego, hasta la vista, may pagkakaiba yun eh. Hasta luego, I'll see you a bit later. Pero hasta la vista till I see you next time. Parang ganoon. Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta
la vista.
Silent H yata sila, attorney. Hasta la vista, no?
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. Yata hasta ba? Hasta la vista. Hindi ko alam. Di bale, pag-aaralan ko yan. Okay. Next week. Okay, well, maraming salamat. Gaya nga ho na sinabi ni Attorney Danna Quinto. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat, no, sa inyong pagsubaybay din sa ating programa, Making It a Happy Tuesday, no. Magkikita na naman ho ulit tayo next week, and sana'y lahat ho ng mga languages banggitin na ho ninyo rito, no, para nang sa ganun makita natin one happy family ang mga Pinoy na despite, hindi naman despite, siguro bagamat nasa Europe tayong lahat, at Pilipino ho tayo, pero maski paano na-embrace natin yung kultura at yung lengguwahe nung kung saan man ho tayo nakabase sa kasalukuyan. At kung saan tayo naghahanap buhay, naninirahan, nabubuhay, di ba? So, maganda at very enriching yung ating buhay. Thank you very much sa mga Pinoy trackers. Mabuhay kayo dahil syempre, attorney, nanonood sila sa atin while traveling or probably while having a break, no? So, mabuhay. So, sa ngalan ni Attorney Danna Quinto, sa ngalan ni Direk Paula Perez, ito po si Attorney Sonny Laragan nagsasabing thank you very much sa inyong walang sawa pagsubaybay sa amin ni Attorney, no? At let's do it again next Tuesday. Happy Tuesday ho, at baka nasa Espanya ho ako. Iikot ako, baka one time nasa Costa Blanca ako, next na baka nasa Sevilla ako, no? Tingnan natin. Gusto ko mapunta na Sevilla, one of my dream places to go to. Babalitaan kita. Sana, attorney, sa second week na siguro yun. First week, we will have to do a bit of cleaning the place and everything, no? Next, following week, ayun, traveling na, hopefully. Okay, maraming salamat. Take care. God bless. And till we see each other again next Tuesday, hasta la vista. Good night.
Hasta la vista. Bye-bye.
Hasta la vista.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you. So you can be there for them.